All right.
Holding. Yeah,
Which one?
On my screen.
That's our email as a
This one is.
Yeah, that's our email for the podcast.
Okay.
If someone wants to email something to us, like topics or videos or something like that, that's what they send it to.
Okay, I can flash that if you want.
No, that's fine. Well, we're live. Welcome everybody.
What up? What up?
Go on, everybody.
We're on episode 5. It's episode 5, right?
Yep.
Episode 5 of the podcast. We apologize for last week. I was insanely sick on vacation. It was awesome, and everybody just kind of had something going on that was out of their control. Just happened to be a bad week, but we're back. We're back. We should be on a regular schedule. But yeah, this week, man, we want to bring it old school, man. First off, shout out RBU Records. My guys over at RBU. Those are my guys. Check them out on Twitter, Instagram, all that. Cool guys, dope music. But yeah, so this week we want to take it back to old school. Talk about some old school. We have a good mix of age genre here. And at one point in our lives, we all used to watch wrestling back in the day. So, we're excited to talk about this right here. So, we want to go back in time. We want to talk about like who are some of our favorite guys to watch when we were younger. So, Jay, who do you remember watching when you was younger?
Some of my favorite wrestlers was I guess, I don't know, Jake the Snake Roberts. I was a British Bulldog fan.
So you're early 90s.
Yeah, I'm an early wrestling because all that shit got fake after a while.
So when did you stop watching it?
I don't know. When they started fighting girls.
So fighting girls is fake?
Nah, it just took the whole excitement out of wrestling, bro. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. You're talking
wrestling back in the day with Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. That was wrestling. You know what I mean? That was when it was exciting, but over the years, it just they got to.
Well, at that time, it was revolutionary. At that time,
yeah.
One of the crazy things is back in the day, I didn't know any of this because I always watched it. I didn't know like the history or nothing like that. At least not the in-depth history. But I started watching that show Young Rock. It's on Hulu right now. But his grandmother had like her own like little wrestling organization. It wasn't like WWF or like anything like that. It was just like a little Samoan joint. But
like
she had
Hawaiian League or something.
Yeah, like a Hawaiian League. It was crazy. They had like Junkyard Dog was on there. Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, the Wild Samoans. Because one thing, if you don't know, like the history of wrestling when it comes to like the Samoans, all the Samoans are related, like literally related. It's not like a racial thing. They are literally all related. Somehow, someway, they're cousins or like married or something like that. You know what I mean? Was that I hated the era where everyone had an occupation. A clown, a garbage man, a repo man, a cop, and so on. What's wrong with being a wrestler? Now, I get, what's funny about that, Gory-Eyed Beast, we're going to talk about gimmicks and shit like that in a little while, because I think gimmicks is a really weird thing. And, like, there's some that was just, like, out of this world. But, yeah, so that Samoan dynasty, even to this day, has, 4 or 5 people who are currently still in the business doing their thing, and it dates back to like The Rock's father and his grandfather and shit like that. It's a crazy history if you ever like got into it and went down that rabbit hole. But I want you to remember the Hulk Hogan thing because you said Hulk Hogan. We're gonna talk about that later. That's something I want. That's something I want to talk about later. Truby, you're around the same era as Jay, so like, who were some of the guys that you liked watching? Because you mentioned that your uncle got you into wrestling when you were a kid.
Yeah, my uncle was about 7, well, still is about 7 years older than me.
I think you say 7 years. You just stayed 7 years old. He never changed.
Yeah, and yeah, tough life. And he like I was the the little nephew. Like he'd practice all the wrestling moves on me, and like just what it was. So like my introduction to wrestling wasn't even watching it. It was like experiencing someone trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
But I grew up in that same era that Jay did, and Hulk Hogan, obviously he got so huge in that time. But like pretty much like all the guys that made that like Saturday morning cartoon, Jay, if you remember what I'm talking about, like everybody who made that cut, like the Junkyard Dog and like Rowdy Piper and like obviously Andre. Like Andre was the force back then. Nobody could take him down. He was like let's say the pre-Undertaker just because of his sheer size,
I think Hulk Hogan was the first one to slam him too, right?
He was, yeah.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
There's a documentary about Andre, and you find out like when Hogan took Andre down and that Andre arranged that. Andre was the one who decided who won or lost all those matches. Yeah, Andre passed the torch to Hogan on purpose. Because he knew McMahon needed somebody to have a face,
And that was the thing.
Represent them.
You find out going down that rabbit hole with the Samoan family, because Andre was signed to The Rock's grandmother's little wrestling spot. He opened the door for like everybody when Vince McMahon Sr., not even the Vince McMahon now, when Vince McMahon Sr. signed all those guys. He's the one who opened the door for that. So like when you saw Junkyard Dog, Macho Man, Wild Samoans, all those guys, going into WWF, he was the reason behind that. So the fact that he had a lot to say makes a lot of sense because he was bringing in all like the big talent. If you like at that time when that was all happening, you would think these guys are just normal people, but you say the names now. And like Junkyard Dog, Macho Man, Randy Savage, like those are big fucking names, and they were just small time at the time, So
almost all of them existed in that same small Hawaiian league together.
Right. What's up, Sam? Yeah, it's nutty. It's nutty how that happened.
Sam,
what up, Sam?
How's it going?
But so Ray, who was some of your favorite guys to watch, man? Because we're the little bit of later generation.
Man, there's a lot of guys that I like, but if I'm giving you my top 3, it's gonna be The Undertaker, Sting, and Shawn Michaels.
So you had both corporations. You had WWF and WCW.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember as a kid, the Monday Night Wars was a big thing with WCW and WWF, and they're going at war.
Yeah, Nitro and Raw. I used to flip between both channels.
That's me and my brother did.
Whatever was hot, I was watching it. I was glued, and then you know what I mean. When WCW had their downtime, switched back to Raw. Like those era between both were nuts. Yeah, because you had WCW going up against NWO, and that was a big thing.
Yeah,
and then
that's still a dream match to this day.
And then you had just the raw superstars from WWF like Undertaker, Austin, Rock, Triple H. Like, man, them days, the Attitude Era was huge. think I'm lagging a little bit.
Maybe. You seem fine on this end. But yeah, so I'm a little different with my guys I enjoyed watching. My favorite guy to watch was always Raven. Raven was my favorite wrestler. He's always been my favorite wrestler of all time. Which is a really weird pick because no one even I don't even know if
I've never even heard of Raven. I
was gonna say I don't think Jay might never even heard of him.
I don't even know though.
He was a WCW guy, and he went to ECW, who was the hardcore corporation, and then went to WWF after all the shit, closing down all the companies and shit when they bought out ECW, WCW, and whatnot. That's when he ended up going there. But he was always my favorite guy to watch. But it was like him, Kurt Angle, Ric Flair, Booker T. I have all weird guys where the ECW is definitely where he really made his name. He was the king of ECW. But
I like
Raven.
Chris Benoit too.
And see,
savage.
And that's a touchy subject because he's one of those guys that
my favorite wrestler was the Undertaker. That was my favorite wrestler. I think everybody.
And that's a very normal thing. The Undertaker had probably one of the most illustrative careers of anybody who wrestled.
Easily.
But Chris Benoit is a very touchy subject because you have to be able to. We've talked about it before. You have to be able to separate the man from the monster. What he did with his family and all that was a crazy fucking story. If you don't know the Chris Benoit story, once you see what the story is, go down that rabbit hole. It's an insane story, but
I don't know that.
All right, so I'll give you a quick rundown of so Chris Benoit is probably top 3 best technical wrestlers of all time. It's like him, Bret Hart, Kurt Angle. I like the 3. And Bret Hart's one of my top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time. So it's hard for me to put anybody in the conversation with the Hitman.
I think he's in my top 3 too. He's definitely in my top 3. Bret Hart.
Yeah, Bret Hart is there, but
Bret Hart.
So Chris Benoit, he apparently went on some roid rage episode or whatever. Ended up killing his son and wife and hanging himself. Pretty fucked up story. No one knows exactly what happened in that house that night. All everyone thinks to know is he killed his family and hung himself. That's what is known to the public. But there's stories out there debunking that's what happened. Saying that he left strange voicemails saying that he was in trouble to other wrestlers and stuff, like he was acting different, that it could have been a triple murder staged to suicide. It's a whole big crazy ass story. But that's another person, like I said, you gotta separate the man from the monster. And if what he did is what is true, that is a monster thing to do. Killing your family and killing yourself. That's a very fucked up thing to do. Does it change that he was one of the top 3 best technical wrestlers of all time? No, it doesn't. The fact of the matter is he still had his talent. But what he did, if he was the one who did it, is wrong. But that's if you ever want to look into that story, look into that story. But it's crazy. But I want to talk a little bit about the Undertaker though, because everyone loves the Undertaker, and he had just recently retired, actually retired. He retired 5 or 6 times. Then he came back for one last hurrah a bunch of times, but this time he's really done. What does he say? Strange thing about Benoit, they won't even consider women for the Hall of Fame, which is unfortunate. A little confused on that comment.
Yeah.
Because Benoit's not a woman, so I'm a little confused on
Benoit's technical prowess.
But Undertaker. So something that Jay might not know because like he stopped watching after a certain point. Undertaker won 21 consecutive WrestleManias. And he. Oh, okay. I know what you're saying now.
Oh, okay.
His wife, yeah, isn't in the Hall of Fame as, yeah. I get what you're saying now. That makes more sense. Yeah. It's crazy how that shit happens, man. And because she's affiliated with the story itself, you know how Vince McMahon is, man. Hogan had that one racist trip, and he erased Hogan from the history of WWE. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a while, it took a long time for him to come back. Like he was gone for years. They took down like pay-per-views that he was in. Like it was fucking insane what they did. But he finally hashed it out with Vince McMahon. They brought him back. Blah blah bullshit. But yeah, maybe one day Nancy Benoit, Chris Benoit, Chris Benoit probably won't ever get into the Hall of Fame, but Nancy Benoit might, but because she's affiliated with that story, probably not. But anyway, so Undertaker's streak, he was undefeated for 21 years. I was telling Truby and Ray this a little while ago. I remember watching when he finally lost because they made such a big deal about him being 21-0. It was like the greatest thing in wrestling history was the streak. And they made it like this big thing. And when he finally lost, he lost to Brock Lesnar for the first time. And I was telling them there was 2 times in my life where the world kind of just stopped and everything just seemed like nothing was real. That was when Kobe died and when Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar. It was like everything went silent. You didn't know what the fuck was going on. Nothing seemed real.
At that point, I wasn't really watching wrestling. Not to intrude, but
no, talk. That's what we're here for.
When I seen that, I was in shock. I was pissed, and I'm like, what is this? Of all people, Brock Lesnar shouldn't have been the one to break that streak at all.
I agree.
It should have been Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, or The Rock. Nobody else.
I wouldn't even say The Rock. I wouldn't even say The Rock.
Maybe even Triple H. And Triple H went for it twice. He fought Undertaker 3 times, but he went for it twice. Because Shawn Michaels couldn't pull it off. Because Shawn Michaels lost the first one. And then that's when the next year, he put his career on the line. He lost. So then Triple H, later that year, wanted to defend that. Went up against him. And then challenged him in a match that Triple H has never lost in. Hell in a Cell.
Right.
And Triple H, he lost that Hell in a Cell match. And I'm like, all that's going through my head is this man there was no special match or anything like that. And you mean to tell me he laid on his back for Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, and
that hurts, bro.
Like Jen and Gory, I say in the comments,
you don't deserve that.
People were pitched by Undertaker himself to
allow that
to end the streak. He asked Randy Orton to go with the whole Legend Killer persona. He asked Shawn Michaels, who refused to, because they had their first match at WrestleMania is considered one of the greatest matches in wrestling history. Like if you want to show someone a wrestling match to show them what wrestling's about, that's the match they usually have you watch. So the second time is when Shawn probably should have beaten him, and then Triple H said no twice, I believe. But then Brock Lesnar came along, and and Undertaker was like, to Brock Lesnar or Vince. I think Vince might have been the one. One of them asked Brock Lesnar to be the one to end the streak, and Brock, Brock being Brock, he's a dickhead. He's like, "Fuck it, I'll do it. I don't care," And
he shouldn't have got that. Randy Orton's pitch, the Legend Killer, would have been perfect. That would have put Randy Orton on another pedestal. Like he'd have been up there because it was so perfect for him. The way Randy Orton swagger, the way he carried himself, the way he was. You know what I mean? Just Randy Orton had it too. I don't feel like he was maybe like on like Shawn Michaels or Triple H's level to take that pedestal, but just having that pitch, the Legend Killer, would have put him right there with.
Oh, he's as
for
far
him to not take that though.
As far as him being who he is, he was definitely he's definitely up there as far as like top tier guys, especially nowadays. And for guys like Truby and Swift, who might not know who Randy Orton is. If you remember Cowboy Bob Orton, it's his son.
Yeah,
and he's a big name wrestler now. No,
I wouldn't say he's top tier with like Triple H and them. They're just on another level.
That's the thing. That was their era. You know what I mean? Like you got to think. Would you put Ric Flair on a pedestal with Triple H and Stone Cold in them?
No.
He has more championships and heavyweight titles than anybody in history. Only one close to him is John Cena and Triple H.
I don't like Ric Flair.
You know what I mean? I love Ric Flair though, but
I ain't like him either.
I love Ric Flair's personality. Like that's what I like to watch. I like to watch guys who have that personality, that's selling you something. It's not just all about Raw wrestling. You have to sell yourself.
He wasn't selling it. Yo, if you any wrestling match you ever watched with Ric Flair, you could tell that like his hits and everything was so fake. He wasn't selling it. They looked so bad. So bad. What he did have going for him was that what was that submission move called? The figure four leg lock.
Figure four,
that
yeah.
That was sick. That move hurts.
Yeah,
that was sick.
Yes, it does.
Gory-eyed has a point. Randy Orton is definitely top tier. He's 11-time world champion and was Cena's only competition for almost 5 years. That's a real thing. And John Cena was like the second coming of Hulk Hogan. He like after
I give Cena that.
As much as I don't like John Cena, because I don't like him as a wrestling persona. I like him as a humanitarian, but as a wrestling persona, I can't stand John Cena. But even throughout that, I can't stand him. Throughout the era of wrestling, even during the Rock, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels that age, no one has ever stepped in Hulk Hogan's shoes because Hulk Hogan was the guy. The only person who was whoever stepped in those shoes and took that role was John Cena. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. That's one thing that I wanted to talk about was Hulk Hogan. Well, we might as well talk about that now as we're bringing him up. So Hulk Hogan was, and you guys would notice because you guys were around for it. Hulk Hogan was the greatest thing to ever touch the wrestling ring when he came into wrestling. He was in Rocky 3. He had his own movies, his own TV shows. He was in all types of shit.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior was bad too. That was a bad man. He was one of my favorite wrestlers too.
Now, see that's my thing.
Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior was always a top choice. My question always was, why Hulk Hogan? Why? He wasn't a good wrestler. Why he wasn't a good wrestler? Why was he the face?
He was the American dream.
No, he was not a good
What was the
wrestler.
American Dream?
Hulk Hogan was not a good wrestler at all. His special move was a fucking leg drop, bro. A leg drop. That's a normal move that everybody does on a regular basis. He was a good.
I think his thing was he was a personality. He was a good showman, and that's
right.
what he brought, and that's what the organization elevated about him. You know,
right? I don't think he was a bad wrestler.
Even his promos were bad. I never understood it. His promos were god awful. I never understood why he was the guy. Like,
man, Hogan has swag. Man, he used to come through with the.
Listen, if it was me picking somebody to run that era, to be the guy, I would have picked Macho Man, hands down, without question. Without question. He cut the best promos out of anybody you can see. He knew how to wrestle, not just like, do a leg drop. Granted, his special move was also just an elbow drop off the top rope. He had personality. He had a character. He sold the character. He was built. You know what I mean? He was no different than Hogan. Except he cut better promos and wrestled better. On a technical standpoint. Even a technical standpoint, what did Hogan do besides get beat up the entire match? And then
Macho Man was that dude.
and then Hulk out
into a win.
Yes, like that's what he did. That was his match every single time, aside from slamming Andre the Giant. Which, like, let's be real, he's not like he's the only one who could have done that. You could have had Lex Luger do that. You could have had Macho Man do that. You could have had Mr. Perfect do that. It doesn't matter.
So like Hogan was the ultimate like white privilege wrestler. He was subpar the entire match and just stumbled into victory every time. Like
that's basically what he did. Like, he literally got beat up his entire match. Every match he was in, go back and watch the footage. He would get beat up his entire match. Then all of a sudden he would Hulk out. He would get hit, shake his head, run around the ring like a fucking idiot, and start fighting back. All of a sudden he body slams someone, hit him with a leg drop. The match is over. That was his entire match every time.
He used to power up through his ear. Like the crowd would power him up through his ear.
Yes.
Like, Macho Man was way better.
Macho Man was way better. Yes, Hogan was the face, cut and dry, and I get that. My question is not if he was the face, whether he was the face or not. My question was why? Why him? Why did he get that push and not Ultimate Warrior, not Macho Man Randy Savage? Not the guys who...
Hogan,
I'll tell you why. Because Andre said so. Because Andre said so.
Because Andre said so, yeah.
That's exactly why. Like, nobody was going to say no to Andre.
Because Andre said so, yeah. That very well might be what it was, because Andre said so.
Yeah,
but
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're absolutely right. But that's another thing, though. Like, Andre and Macho Man are, that's true. Hogan was clean outside the ring. Everyone knew what Macho Man did. That man would blow lines of coke and just do interviews. They were amazing interviews, but he was doing coke. He was doing drugs.
They all were.
He was doing drugs.
They all were.
But Hogan was promoted like eating your vitamins and drinking your milk. Like that was his whole thing. To the kids, I got bedtime books and shit. Like that. That was his whole thing.
Hogan stand for America.
Exactly. He was the American hero.
So was Lex Luger.
Yeah, but Lex Luger wasn't. I don't know. He just wasn't. He wasn't a popular wrestler.
They tried to recreate the whole Hogan and Andre the Giant thing with Lex Luger. With Lex Luger and Yokozuna, it was actually kind of funny. If you remember who Yokozuna is, I'm sure you guys remember who that is. He's a Samoan Japanese wrestler.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was Japanese by gimmick, but he was actually Samoan. He's like the Rock's like second cousin or something. Like, he's actually like full blown Samoan. He's not Japanese even a little bit. But he played a Japanese character with Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji was his manager.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was super weird. But Yeah, man, I just never believed that Hulk Hogan should have been the face, man. I just don't. That never sat well with me. And the thing was like, every time they're trying to do it with, they try to do it with someone every year, or every time someone else steps up. You know, Hulk Hogan, they're shoving him down your throat. Like, you have to love this guy. He has to be the one. You know, this is going to be the guy. John Cena comes in, the same thing. John Cena, you love John Cena, love him, and now you hate the guy now. You hate John Cena because they're forcing him down your throat. Not only children and kids love the guy. Like male adults don't like the guy. At least most don't. Cena did become the new Hogan,
He's
and
cool. I like Cena.
I just didn't like the character. I don't like his character. And maybe it's not a character. Maybe that's really him. Maybe that's what he's really like in real life. Maybe he's just that person. But I mean, I don't know, man.
Yo, he was come on, man. He was out there with the fans spitting bars. He had rap battle with the fans.
A fake ass rap battle.
Oh man, Cena was that dude.
Oh, we lost Jay. So not a Jonathan Cena fan. Trash bars. He did have trash bars, just as whack.
Say, trash bars.
I hated that chain with the lock. You said.
I remember there was a time when everybody was rapping on TV, like people on game shows were rapping. It was terrible.
That's Dr. Dre and Ed Lover's fault. they started all that. That's their fault. Something I want to talk about, which I thought was crazy at that time, was the racial divide. They had a point in time where there was a racial divide in wrestling, and the fact that they got away with the shit for as long as they did was crazy as shit to me.
You were telling me a little bit about this before. I am completely unaware of this.
So I didn't get into it before, but I want to get more into it now. Ray will remember because Ray was watching at the time, but people weren't conscious to it happening because they were just factions. But and when I say it was really a racial divide, I mean they had the Nation of Domination, which were, you know, they were all the black dudes. You know, The Rock, Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown, Farouk, Kama, Papa Shango, whatever you want to call him at the time. That was the group of black guys. There was a group of white guys that were all bikers, the Disciples of Apocalypse, and it was legit a biker gang. It was like Crush and all these other guys that were. It was just the white guys. There was a Japanese crew, Kai and Tai, and that was like
I remember them.
That was Farouk, Taka Michinoku, Yamaguchi-san, all these other guys that were all Japanese guys. And then there was a biker club. Then there was the Hispanic crew, Los Boricuas.
Oh yeah, Kels, when DX came out as the Nation, that was crazy.
Oh, who did I say? Did I not say Funaki? Yes, Funaki and Taka.
Triple H had the remember when Triple H had the rock thing on his eye and everything?
That's when it all shifted. That's when the racial divide stopped. When DX came into play. So it started off with just Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and China. They added in Rick Rude randomly, which I never understood that. He was like their lawyer or something. I don't know. Rick Rude, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Like, ravishing Rick Rude. He was like a part of their little crew or whatever. Don't mind Jay. Jay's on Taco Bell's Wi-Fi, so it's gonna take him a minute to get back in here.
Man.
But yeah, man, Taco Bell's a bitch. But Yeah, right, exactly, Kels. He didn't do shit. He just carried around. He carried around a briefcase the whole time. That's what he did. He sat in there with a briefcase and.
Wait, Funaki?
No, Rick Rude. No, Funaki was part of Kai and Tai.
Oh, yeah.
It was Funaki, Taka Michinoku, and it was a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, the BK Wi-Fi.
The BK Wi-Fi, yeah.
Jay's always heading over to BK.
Dang, Sam. That's a code.
She's still not talking to
you. Oh, she's still mad at me.
She said it in the comments. She said she's still not talking to you.
I didn't even see that.
Jay's texting us pics of his frozen computer.
I told her to restart the laptop. Anyway, to keep going. So and then when they brought out Mike Tyson when Stone Cold and The Rock and Shawn Michaels fought. They brought out Mike Tyson to be a part of the group, kinda. And that's when Shawn Michaels left after that match, and DX expanded. That's when X-Pac joined, who he was previously the 1-2-3 Kid. If you remember the 1-2-3 Kid, True Beef, you might remember him as remember the little guy with the long hair. He had the fight with Razor Ramon. He was like really fast, jumping all over the fucking place.
Oh yeah, like the Spider-Man guy.
Yeah, so him, his name was 1-2-3 Kid at the time. He came back as his name was X-Pac, and he joined the group DX. It was the New Age Outlaws, who was Road Dogg, Jesse James, and if you remember Billy Gunn, Billy and Bart Gunn, they were the Smoking Guns. Max Moon. They kind of split that racial divide up because they had to have other factions. So they ended up having like the Ministry of Darkness come into play, which was like Undertaker, Viscera, Minion, and the Acolytes. It was Farouk and Bradshaw.
That was my group right there. That was my group.
Farouk and Bradshaw is my favorite tag team of all time. I love the APA.
Oh yeah, APA.
When they had that door and they're just playing poker. They're playing poker, smoking cigars. They just had that door, and like if you walked around the door, they'd be like, "Oh, whoa, like take it back. You have to go through the door." And
knocking everything.
It was a standing door. You could clearly just walk around, but they made you knock on the door and walk through. It was fucking hilarious. But people would go to them for protection, and they would be like your personal bodyguards. You had to pay them like thousands of dollars up front. But they were like one of my favorite tag teams. It was between them and probably the Harlem Heat. I love the Harlem Heat. That was my WCW tag team I used to watch.
Booker T and Stevie Ray, right?
Yeah, Booker T and Stevie Ray. That was his brother, and they had a manager at the time. Sensational Sherry, I think, was the manager. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But that was one of my favorites over in WCW. Then that's when they started war with the NWO over at WCW. Goldberg became a big thing. And all these like dream matches formed of like who people wanted to see with WCW and WWF if they were to have fights. So like, what are some dream matches that you can think of that's like you would have thought, wow, I would love to watch that happen
in their prime?
Yeah, for sure. We'll just say we'll go with that. We'll go prime.
Prime WrestleMania match. Undertaker and Sting would have been sick.
Undertaker and Sting is always the number one top rated dream match of all time.
I tell myself all the time I wouldn't know who to root for. Like
it's understandable.
Those are my guys. Like, those are my guys. I love both of them.
It's understandable, man, because Stone Cold and Randy Orton, that would have been a pretty good fight too. And the funny thing is the top dream match for Stone Cold. Stone Cold has the most dream matches of anybody who wants to watch people fight from back in the day, because his career was shortened with his injuries so much. But Randy Orton's always talked about, Goldberg's always talked about, Goldberg and Austin was always a big thing because they were both bald-headed, goatee-wearing wrestlers back in that era. But the big one with Stone Cold is CM Punk. That's who everyone says they would love to see fight Stone Cold. He was the top guy that they wanted to see CM Punk and Stone Cold.
CM Punk and Stone Cold.
Yeah, I definitely think that Sting and Taker are up there. I think Truby's frozen.
I think so. He hasn't moved in a while.
That's a handsome picture, though. We'll just keep that there. He looks really focused right now.
Yeah, he does.
No, Goldberg was a god awful wrestler.
No,
in reality.
Real quick, gory-eyed. Nah, I don't like the evil Joker Sting.
I like
I do like the
I like Wolfpack NWO Sting.
Yeah.
Of course you would do that.
Yeah. Wolfpack NWO Sting was fire, bro. Fire.
Oh, here we go. He's back.
Truby got that BK Wi-Fi too, talking about my shit.
Yeah.
That nigga got the Dunkin' Donuts Wi-Fi. I'll take the BK. He got the Dunkin'.
Yo, that was crazy. That was out of nowhere.
He's back.
Yeah, Gory-Eyed Beast got a really good point. He said if you pick like the beach bum blonde Sting, like the Ric Flair era Sting.
No.
And then what he's saying was if you picked him against like Biker Undertaker, that's a whole different match than if you had like the evil Joker Sting against the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker. You know what I mean? It's so different of personas. It's I actually agree with that take. I agree with that take 100%.
Now, I would want the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker against the 98-99 Sting.
See, I would want Wolfpack Sting against Undertaker with the mask. Remember when he had that mask on, the half mask?
Oh, that was back in the day.
I love that Undertaker, man. I want to see
back in the day.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that with the Wolfpack Sting.
That Undertaker was badass, man. I don't think Sting could handle that one. That Undertaker was a bad man.
Crow Sting versus Big Invincible Zombie Taker. It goes on and on. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I like the Crow Sting for a fact.
Oh yeah, the Crow Sting is super classic. I miss Mick Foley, Mankind. Yeah, listen, one of my favorite things in Royal Rumble history is like he's a comfortable character. He is mad comfortable. All of his characters are comfortable. When he came into the Royal Rumble with like all 4 of his characters or whatever, all 3 of his characters, that shit was comical to me.
Man, I look like Leatherface.
He does.
Stop. Yeah, he does. My favorite character of Mick Foley, I would have to say, is Cactus Jack.
Cactus Jack, man. Cactus Jack.
Listen, he's so hardcore, ruthless with the barbed wire bats and everything. And I swear he's for real, man. He be hitting people, bro.
But you gotta love Dude Love, man. You gotta love Dude Love. Yo, Dude Love and Stone Cold had the tag titles for a while, man. That was such an unorthodox team. It was fucking hilarious to me.
Love.
You gotta love some Dude Love, man. But yeah, so the dream matches. So we said Taker and Sting, Austin and CM Punk. I think would be a great match.
That'd be a good generational match right there because they're both top tier wrestlers. So
he said it took me hella long to realize that was the same person. Kel's is stupid.
Yo, Kels.
I can't even be mad at that. See, me and Ray in the same house, so me and Ray in the same house, so our Wi-Fi straight. Well, once Truby gets his hotspot working, we'll be all right. One match I would have loved to see would have been Bret Hart and Kurt Angle. Those guys in their prime would have been a fucking match to see, bro. I would have loved to watch that shit. Oh, New Jack. Yeah, New Jack did try to kill people. New Jack legitimately tried to kill people. He was a bad man. He just died recently, didn't he?
Oh, New Jack? Jeez.
New Jack was the ECW cat who was like super hardcore, like he was trying to murder people in the ring, like legitimately. He was a bad man.
Crazy.
But behind Undertaker and Sting, I guess the second top most wanted match of all time is, and I can't believe this match has never happened, because of the time era. They were in the same time era, literally almost their whole career, is The Rock and Shawn Michaels. How the fuck has that match never happened? That's like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson never playing against each other. It doesn't make sense to me. Like they're legitimately there the entire time together. You know what I mean? Like,
that's because I feel like The Rock was more Triple H. You know what I mean? Like,
but so was Stone Cold, though. That's the thing. Like,
Shawn Michaels was more of Bret Hart's beef, so him and Triple H ain't really. You know what I mean?
But Bret Hart left. When Bret Hart left, Shawn Michaels still came back, and The Rock was still there. They're different tiers. I don't understand how they're different tiers. They both literally had the same opponents their entire careers. Look at their biggest matches. We're talking about Stone Cold, Triple H, Undertaker, Mankind. I guess you could say John Cena.
But Shawn Michaels didn't really wrestle during that Attitude Era. And that's when they all like really became, you know, not to say they wasn't icons then, but that's when they all really took over. You know what I mean? That Attitude Era was just different.
Yeah, but when Rocky came in as Rocky Maivia, so he was Rocky Maivia until the crowd decided to act the way they acted towards him, and he decided to come up with the Rock persona and join the Nation of Domination. At that point, Shawn Michaels was wrestling. The Rock may not have been on that pedestal yet, but when he went into his beef with Triple H and Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels was around, and he was fighting that same group of guys, even during his hiatus of his injury. And it's not like both guys didn't come back countless times. The Rock came back and fought John Cena when Shawn Michaels came back to fight Undertaker. Like, if that's always been a dream match, how has that not happened? I don't understand it. Now Shawn Michaels is too old. The Rock would just fucking destroy him now because the guy's in amazing shape, and Shawn Michaels is just like an old balding guy now. But like, for real, like sometimes I see him, I'm just like, ugh, like I can't believe he looked the way he did back in the day. But no, like I never understood how that never happened. And like we can say, you know, he's not. It's not that he's old; he's injured. Yeah, well, but he aged bad though. He aged very bad. At least I thought he aged very bad.
Oh, Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, he aged bad. He aged very, very bad. Jericho said it was because HBK insulted Rock when he was coming in. So Rock said "fuck you" to working with him. That I mean I guess
sense.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And The Rock did have that star power where he can say like, "No, I'm not doing it." You know, the Rock was that guy, and I believe that too because before HBK turned, you know, became born again, you know, he was an asshole. I never questioned Fozzy. Um, uh, so one thing, another thing I wanted to talk about was like underrated guys, the guys who fly under the radar that no one really talked about, or who just didn't get the praise they deserved. Who were some of your guys that you enjoyed watching, but no one really talked about? Jay got someone in his head. He wants to say it. Raven's the best of all time, Kels. We don't. I said it earlier in the podcast. Raven's the greatest of all time. Who's that? Hacksaw?
Hacksaw
Jim Duggan.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan, man. Him and his 2x4. Zack Ryder.
Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious had like Matt Hardy.
Even Lenny Paco.
Macho Man's brother. One guy that always comes to my mind.
Man, Hardy.
They did the woo woo, you know it. Stupid asses. One guy that always came to my mind, Shelton Benjamin for sure, was Razor Ramon. I never thought that he got the credit he deserved for being the wrestler he was in his time frame. He was obviously overshadowed by the guys who were there at the time. Because, you know, he was competing with Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man. When he was Razor Ramon, he was, you know, that was when all those guys were still there or just leaving. And he ended up leaving too. But yeah, that was where like, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Sid Vicious, like Undertaker. He had all these guys to compete with. But I always thought Razor Ramon was like a top-notch guy. He had a cool character. He could wrestle like a motherfucker. He had great interviews. He was another guy who was just like, you know, he should have made it farther than he did before going to WCW and doing the Scott Hall thing.
Hey, but he made a big name for himself in WCW. He was up there.
No, he did, but he also had problems. He ended up having like crazy drinking problems and shit. Yeah, alcohol fucked him up bad. For those who don't know, I guess Scott Hall got into a Razor Ramon.
Kevin Nash for sure.
Scott Hall.
Kevin Nash is that dude.
Scott Hall got into like a bar fight and ended up like shooting and killing somebody in self-defense, and it really fucked his life up. He went down a bad path and started drinking and like became like an alcoholic. And you can see videos of him like online, like being a raging drunk. It was just crazy. As far as I know, he turned his life around though. It was like him, Jake the Snake Roberts, DDP, like this guys like turned their life around and became like better people. And if you don't know DDP, Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, he's another one. I liked him a lot.
No, he was dope. He was dope. But he's one of the driving forces behind people changing their lives around. He's one of the guys that, like, you know, he helps change people's lives. Jake looks good now. He does. Jake does look great now. He's he's taking care of himself. I mean, it's almost a little too late now, but he's taking care he's taking care of himself now. But
I ain't never too late.
Oh no, it's definitely not ever too late. But like he already took so much out on his own body with drugs and alcohol and all the shit that he did. That how do you come back from that?
Right.
Like you can come back from that like now, but like I mean like you can't get those years back. You kind of have to live for today now, which sucks, But yeah, I thought Razor Ramon never got the credit he deserved as a wrestler and as a personality. But then you think about it at that time, who he was competing with, it was kind of hard to. It was the same. It was like the Rock and Stone Cold era. If you were an undercard guy, how do you compete with those guys? Like even Kane was like the under guy at the time. They had to push him as Undertaker's brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, King got to shine though. He definitely put his foot in the WWE.
Well, yeah, it was he had to take it by force though. You know how many other characters he had before he had to come out as Kane. He came out as Jerry the King Lawler's dentist. He did. I swear to God, that was his.
Remember that?
That was his gimmick. His name was Isaac Yankem DDS. Because Jerry Lawler and Bret Hart had a feud going on, and he played Jerry Lawler's dentist. It was a stupid gimmick. Hockey says the guitar shot was fake. Jay says it was real. I mean, if Jake says it was real, I kind of believe it. I don't take.
You did it, Jay. Look pretty real to me.
I don't take. I don't take Hockey Tonk Man's word for anything. I believe Jake when he talks. Jake doesn't seem like a liar to me. Jake just wearing shirt like that. Yo, Jake the Snake used to wear shirts like fucking Rocky and Apollo when they ran on the beach in fucking Rocky 3. They had those half cut up like belly shirts and shit. That dude was just gross looking when he did it though. But yeah, man. So we covered a lot of. He's cool. He's cocky. He's bad.
Ew. Oh, okay.
But yeah, man. So we're hitting 10 o'clock now. We're hitting an hour. Jay, man, what we doing next week?
Oh man, what do you want to do next week? I think we're gonna.
You gonna hit him with some videos?
What we want to talk about, man. We're gonna hit him with some videos, man. We're gonna make y'all laugh next week. Man, gotta hit him with some videos, and we're gonna talk about what's going on every day.
Oh
what's
shit!
Going on this week? What's happening?
Yeah, Jen's right with that. First of all, I have to say, for wrestling too, because Ray and I were talking earlier at work about like big comebacks when people like came back from injuries and shit. And I don't think I ever seen a comeback like Edge's return when he came back at WrestleMania. That shit was like electric and shook the fucking building down. You could feel the building shaking through the TV. It was fucking crazy. Shout out to Edge for that.
He Used to play with Barbies?
So,
Yeah, tell us.
my sister had these
They're
my-
not Barbies, they're anatomically correct dolls, I'll
Listen.
have you know.
So Barbies were cheap, and we didn't have toys like wrestling toys when I was a kid. But my sister had these. My sister had these Elvis Presley like. They had to be worth like crazy money, man. But they came with guitars. So if you remember back in the day, Double J, Jeff Jarrett would take the guitar like breaking over people's heads and shit.
Oh yeah.
So
Honky Tonk Man used to do that too.
Honky Tonk Man did it too. So
yeah.
we used to do that with the dolls, or pretend they were like Matt and Jeff Hardy and shit. I mean, we pretend they were Jeff Jarrett and like breaking over people's heads and shit. It was cool. It was a way to pass the time as a kid. No, Kels, I was not there for that, bro. So we have an inside joke. My man Kels and I, because we're in a group chat for battle rap, and every time we talk about an event or a special like moment that happened in battle rap, I always happen to have been there like at the event when it happened. So like they have this running joke with me now that I was there for that. So we kind of you'll probably see him pop in here and say that every so often. But yeah, man. Next week, we'll talk about what's going on in the world. You know, football season's coming up. That starts up. What's it? Thursday next week. A week after.
Celebrity boxing match. It's gonna be me versus George Bush Jr.
Oh, what time is that fight at? Is that fight already happening?
I think it's on now. Going on now, man. Start at 8.
I hope Woodley fucks him up, bro.
We'll see.
Woodley
been out the game for a minute.
You see Mike Tyson's fighting James Lights Out Tony? not James Tony. He's fighting Holyfield. James Tony's fighting somebody else, but they're on the same card.
Tyson already fought Holyfield, didn't he?
No, they're having a rematch.
Oh, rematch of a fake fight.
Have a fake fight.
Yeah, it
was pretty much a fake fight. Like
it's gonna be like Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. was. But it's Tyson and Holyfield for their rematch.
That's what it was. It was Roy Jones that fought him the first time. That's what I meant. I got him confused.
Yeah, he's gonna bite his other ear off this time.
He's gonna take them both off.
He ain't gonna be able to wear no mask. But
he wears it halfway now for the slam.
He wears a gator up to his forehead. He has to like have it up here and tilt it down like a fucking ninja from Mortal Kombat.
He wears turtlenecks. Yeah, they got Mike Tyson and Holyfield having their last hurrah, and James Tony is fighting somebody. I haven't heard that name in fucking years.
You think those two get a senior discount on their entry fees?
Oh my god, they ride the bus for free. There's no way they don't. Those guys ride the bus for free. They get the senior citizen discount at 99 restaurant. Without question. They come to eat. They get that 10% off.
Like they get the cod. You know they get the cod.
They get the cod, yeah. They get the baked haddock.
The cod.
They get the baked haddock.
Stupid, bro.
Yeah, man.
Stupid, man.
John, and people calling on this thing. We can make that work out, man. For those of you who want to, be a part of it or whatever. Going. We got.
So we're about to get some crank anchors going.
We got the Discord, man. You can join the Discord. For anyone who's serious about joining the Discord, We will do special guests on here and all that.
About it.
And if you would like to get roasted for your birthday, you can send us your picture.
Yeah,
and we will gladly roast your ass.
Yeah, we'll fuck y'all up.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you got to give them the email too. Let them know the email that they can send their pictures to if they want to get roasted on the next show.
Yeah,
a lot of birthdays coming up.
Truby can provide that at the top. But yeah, we have it's at the top of our Truby's picture right there. Skazooter@gmail.com. That's gonna be for the podcast. He said it's like let's type about it. If you're serious about joining the Discord, send an email to skazooter@gmail.com, and we'll send you a link to the Discord, and you can call in. We can do special guest features and whatnot, and we can get people in here to talk about shit with us, because that's what we're all about. We're all about talking about it. So let's talk about it.
Facts.
But so now, next week we'll and you guys can send like stuff to talk about too. Like if you guys see like something that came up throughout the week, you can always go into the email and send it to us. Send us a story or whatever that you saw.
Videos.
Yeah. Send us
see some funny shit. Send it.
Send some news or something you saw online. We can talk about that. We wanna try and not talk about depression shit. We want to have fun here. If depression shit come up, because that's life. So I have real Wi-Fi, so I'll jump in whenever your boy lags out.
Say roast that. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out who Gory Eyed Beast is. I think I have an idea. I don't know for sure. So I enjoy this wondering who this is. If it's who I think it is, 3 out of 4 of us know him. But yeah, man, catch us next week. Check out RVU Records. Again, check them out. Follow them. Subscribe. All that fun shit. And for those of y'all who like music, check out Framing Hip Hop. Framing Hip Hop on Instagram. My man Dings makes custom album art shit. Puts it in frames for you. It's actually pretty dope. He made one for Riv too.
Oh, mine's just hanging on the wall.
His is hanging up. Mine's on my desk.
Hold on, let me see if I could.
He said, "No, you don't know me. Sorry. I usually join the other Let's Talk About It podcast, but tonight it's y'all instead."
Yeah, I see that. I got the Lupe Fiasco.
You see the food and liquor that Riv got, and I got Big L. Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. So, Framing Hip Hop on Instagram. Check them out, man. It's dope shit. He just did a new one for Kanye and for Tupac. Dope shit. It looks crazy, but he's getting better and better as he does them. Yeah, man. Next week, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, man.
About it.